Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and I've got this article pulled up. It's from just a day ago, pretty recent, and it's from Fox News, but it says Putin mum on Trump's 50-day ultimatum. Kremlin officials claim Russia didn't care. And of course, Russia doesn't care. They're setting up the BRICS. He's forming alliances with other nations through BRICS. They plan to have their own currency. So any financial penalties that the West could place on them, it doesn't really matter. But it says Russian President Vladimir Putin has yet to publicly respond to the 50-day ultimatum President Donald Trump issued him. Though one top official on Tuesday suggested that Moscow didn't care. You even see it in his face on that video. They just, what's there to care about? And they ultimately have a big part to do with prophecy. And so none of America trying to sway the Russians, none of that's going to work because they have prophecy to fulfill. But it says Deputy Chair of Russia's Security Council and former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev took to X to express the Kremlin's first reaction to the joint announcement by Trump and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte that Putin has 50 days to end its war in Ukraine or face 100% tariffs. And they don't care. Putin wants Ukraine and he plans to take it. What's America going to do to stop them? They're already fighting against them in this gosh, I forget what you call the type of war. It's not a war of attrition. It's a proxy war. NATO's already fighting against them in a proxy war. And what's he care if they put tariffs on them? But Rutte announced really big NATO arms package amid new 50-day deadline to Putin. It's going up here. But it says Trump issued a theatrical ultimatum to the Kremlin. The world shuddered, expecting the consequences, Medvedev said. Belligerent Europe was disappointed. Russia didn't care, he added. Reactions to Trump's latest frustration with Putin were mixed as Rutte championed the move as logical, though top European Union officials suggested the move lacked teeth this far into the war. On the other hand, it is very positive that President Trump is taking a strong stance on Russia. On the other hand, 50 days is a long time. If we see that they are killing innocent civilians also every day. The EU's chief diplomat Kaja Kallas told reporters from Brussels when asked about the president's announcement. It is clear that we all need to put more pressure on Russia so that they would also want peace, she added. It is good that the Americans are making the steps, and I hope that they are also giving military aid like Europeans are giving. They're not understanding that the Lord has his hooks in the mouth of Putin, in the jaws of Russia, and they're moving according to prophecy. Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko also questioned the effectiveness of the move and told German news outlet ARD that I'm happy about the wave of support from the U.S., but on the other hand, I do not understand why Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin is being given 50 days, he added, according to a translation by Ukrainian media outlets Kiev Independent. Trump told reporters on Monday that he was frustrated by Putin's lack of action when it came to stopping his war in Ukraine, despite 4 separate occasions when the president thought a deal had been reached with the Kremlin chief. I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done, and I always hang up saying, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched into Kiev or some other city, and I say, strange, Trump said, recounting his conversations with Putin. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say that talk doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean anything, because the Lord has plans for Russia and for what they are going to do. This is Revelation 20 and verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, this is basically the Dark Ages, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Satan means adversary, and this is speaking of Satan's children, the Edomites, the so-called white people and small hatters. Trump is an Edomite, and Putin is an Edomite. And these are his people that the earth is given into the hand of. Verse 8, it shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. And they have done that after they came out of the Dark Ages during the Renaissance. They went out to the four corners of the earth in the age of exploration, as they like to call it, but really they were going around colonizing and stealing people's resources. But they bring with them the Bible and that image of so-called white Jesus. And this deceived the nations, making them think that they are actually the Lord's people when they are anything but. They are hated of the Lord. Gog and Magog to gather them together to battle. Gog and Magog is referring to Russia, or Gog of Magog. It's referring to Russia, but the Lord has plans for them to use them to bring down the rest of Idumea. It says, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. But yeah, them expecting these Edomites to stop, expecting Russia to stop is just not going to happen, because they represent their end. Jeremiah 50 and verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon. Babylon is America, an assembly of great nations from the north country. And Putin has been forming alliances with different nations. You see it with Iran, you see it with China, you see it with the North African countries. They're forming alliances, and this is all going to go against the West and against America, against Babylon the Great. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, against America, an assembly of great nations from the north country. This is speaking of Russia and his bands, his allies. And they shall set themselves array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Because they're going to shoot their missiles onto Babylon. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. All those missiles are going to actually hit America, and it's going to end America. This book of Isaiah 13 and verse 17. Still, this is all speaking of Russia. It's referred to as Gog and Magog. It's also referred to as the Medes. And in Jeremiah, said from the north country. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. And this is the verse that I thought of when seeing that Putin didn't care. He doesn't care. 100% tariffs against their goods. He doesn't care. That's not regarding silver, and that's not regarding gold. It says, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, because they're going to be gathered, or back in Revelation 20, it says to gather them to battle. They're all going to the War of Armageddon, the Valley of Yahweh Shaphat. They're all going to go there for World War III. They're all going to get destroyed, but before that, America will, or really, I don't want to say before, but during this battle, America will be hit with nukes. And this is the point where Yahushua will return to gather his elect from Babylon, from America, because that's where his elect are. The Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the scattered. That's where we are gathered together. And that's where the deliverance comes from. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children, because they're going to send nukes here. And there's lots of young men, and there's lots of babies and women, children, and old people, but they're not going to care. They are going to completely nuke America, as well as their allies, and as well as some of the NATO EU nations. Everybody's going to turn against America and against Israel. In Babylon, America, the glory of kingdoms, because America has been very set up very high within this earth. It's that golden city. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, because it's going to go out in a flame, just like that place did. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, because it's just going to be a great example of how not to be. A great example of where wickedness was. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. So you're not going to have any more quickie marts or any Arab gas stations. No more cowboys. Everything's going to be destroyed. Nobody's going to be here ever again once this great battle takes place. But we're watching the build up. The MOTB still has to be made mandatory first, and then these wars will get started and get going, heating up. But after that, you could look forward to Isaiah 13 happening, 17 through 20, which we're watching them not regard silver and gold. And it'll probably step up. It might even get to where they're trying to pay them to not send nukes onto America. But they're not going to regard it because they have a job to do. So, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekach, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.